Heavy snow is hampering rush hour traffic in the capital area this evening. Up to 8 centimeters of snow are expected in most parts of the country and over 10 centimeters in Gangwon province. A new division in charge of economic security is created under South Korea's presidential office amid related emerging challenges. Samsung Electronics last year looks to have recorded its lowest operating profit in more than a decade as semiconductor performance remains weak. It's January 9th, 2024. This is Newscenter. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Yoon Jung-min. We begin with heavy snow blanketing the entire country. The central regions have been especially hit hard, prompting the issuance of heavy snow advisories. For more, let's connect live with our reporter Song Yujin, who is at one of the busiest areas of Seoul during this time. Yujin, it's now the evening rush hour. What's it like there?
Well, Tomin, I'm currently at Gwanghwamun Square in central Seoul, and as you know, it snowed all morning, but then at one point in the afternoon it stopped. It snowed again, and right now it's snowing a little bit after it stopped for about an hour, but the nation's weather agency predicts that capital Seoul will get up to 7 centimeters of heavy snow by tomorrow, and most parts of the country 8 centimeters, but in some parts of the country, for example, Gangwon province, it could see up to 10 centimeters of heavy snow. Now, in response, the nation's Interior Ministry has activated its Central Disaster and Safety Countermeasures Headquarters Level 1, which is the lowest of its 3-tier system. Now, this basically means the swift removal of snow and monitoring the weather conditions. The ministry has also upgraded its 4-step snow alert level from the lowest interest to the second lowest caution. Now, currently, with lots of people heading home from either school or work, the streets are bustling with commuters bundled up, clutching their umbrellas and treading very carefully due to the amount of snow on the sidewalks. So let's first take a listen to what some of these people had to say.
It's hard to see snow in Busan, so it's kind of cool to see the snowfall in Seoul.
Maybe to be a bit cautious about slipping because the floor is very wet and slippery. But
Why it looks cold and slippery out there. Eugene, what's the cause of this sudden heavy snowfall and how long is it expected to last?
Well, all the snowfall is because of a snow cloud belt originating from the West Sea. It's currently moving to the southeast of the country. And because of this, the weather agency predicts that the capital regions will see snowfall by tonight and most parts of the country by tomorrow morning. But in certain coastal regions of Gangwon-do and Gyeongsang-buk-do provinces, snow may continue until tomorrow afternoon. So for safety, using public transportation is highly recommended. But if you intend to drive or if you have no choice to, it's really important to drive slowly and keep safe distances from other vehicles. And if you have snow chains, using them are also highly recommended. Also, of course, tune in to the latest weather updates, bundle up, and be careful when you go outside because the roads and the sidewalks here are really slippery, Tomin. That's all I have for now. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Eugene, for the updates. To stay safe out there. Shifting gears, the nation's top office has added a new economic security division to tackle a growing list of supply chain and industry-related issues that affect South Korean livelihoods. Our correspondent Oh Soo-young has the details.
South Korea's National Security Council has established a new division focusing on economic and cybersecurity. On Tuesday, President Yoon Suk-yeol's office said the nation's top security body created a third deputy position to, quote, take a more organic and systematic response to complex security crises. This comes as Seoul addresses a growing range of new emerging threats to national security affecting the livelihoods and safety of South Koreans beyond their traditional security concerns posed by North Korea. With supply chain disruptions becoming commonplace, along with fierce global competition to master core and emerging technologies, gaining economic security and a lead in science and technology determines both economic prospects and military capabilities. The Yoon administration over the past year has focused on building cooperation in supply chains for minerals that are critical for future technologies, as well as research and development in defense and other strategic industries. Under National Security Advisor Chang Ho-jin, Principal Deputy National Security Advisor Kim Tae-ho will continue directing pressing issues in foreign affairs and security, as well as the overall policies of the National Security Council as its Secretary General. Second Deputy Advisor Lee Seong-an will focus on national defense and military issues and oversee the national crisis management system. The new third deputy, expected to be appointed in the coming days, will take over emerging security issues. On top of supply chains, export controls and nuclear power plants, two secretaries will assist with policies to promote cooperation on core and emerging technologies, as well as technology protection and the field of cybersecurity. Yoon's office says revamping the council to address such issues is expected to contribute to improving the competitiveness of Korean companies and stabilizing people's livelihoods across the export-dependent economy. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
South Korea's military is planning on resuming artillery drills on land and at sea after it declared there will no longer be buffer zones on the inter-Korean border. When asked whether this means termination of the military pact with North Korea, the Defense Ministry said consultation is needed. Our defense correspondent Chim Min-jo explains.
The South Korean military recently announced that the buffer zones set up along the inter-Korean border are no longer effective following North Korea's continued artillery fire off its western coast. The buffer zones were set up in 2018 when the two Koreas signed an inter-Korean military agreement to halt hostilities near the border. First, on the ground, a 5-kilometer buffer zone was established in the north and south from the military demarcation line. Here, artillery fire and regimental or higher-level field maneuvers were suspended. In the maritime buffer zone at sea, all coastal and naval artillery as well as maritime exercises were banned. In the air, a no-fly zone banned aircraft from flying within 20 kilometers of the MDL in the western section of the demilitarized zone and within 40 kilometers of the zone in the east. For the first time in 6 years, South Korea last week conducted artillery drills within the maritime buffer zone in response to the North's artillery firing. The Defense Ministry on Tuesday revealed plans to resume artillery exercises in the buffer zone on land as well.
As you know, due to the September 19th military agreement, there were restrictions on large-scale regiment-level maneuver training and artillery fire training within 5 kilometers from the MDL. So there were some limitations in establishing a readiness posture in border areas with frontline units. I believe that such issues will be resolved and each unit will be able to train in better conditions.
However, when asked if the abolition of the buffer zone means the termination of the inter-Korean military pact, the ministry said this is an issue that requires necessary consultation between relevant ministries.
The Defense Ministry seems to be responding to North Korea's provocations, while the government is thinking there's no need for us to be the first to destroy the military pact, as it's already dead.
The expert added that it would be difficult for Pyongyang to pose a direct threat as long as the South Korean military remains on high alert. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
The country's lawmakers passed several special bills this afternoon, including a bill providing the basis for the launch of a new space agency. Also passed was a ban on the consumption of dog meat. Our National Assembly correspondent Ishikawa reports.
Lawmakers at the National Assembly's plenary session on Tuesday approved special bills that will establish South Korea's new space agency and that will ban dog meat consumption in the country. The special act for the establishment and operation of a new space agency passed with 263 approvals and 3 abstentions. The new space agency, which the Science Ministry has dubbed the Korea Aerospace Administration, or KASA, is expected to launch in Sacheon, Gyeongsangnam-do Province as early as this May. The agency will carry out research and development, policymaking, industry promotion, international cooperation, and more in the field of aerospace. In response to the bill's approval, President Yoon Suk-yeol said South Korea has taken a great step toward becoming a major space power. Meanwhile, the so-called Dog Meat Ban Act passed with 208 approvals and 2 abstentions. It prohibits all processes of dog consumption, including the breeding, slaughtering, and selling of dogs. Punishment for slaughtering dogs for consumption will be up to 3 years in prison or a fine of up to around $23,000. For the breeding and selling of dogs for eating, offenders could face up to 2 years in prison or fines of up to around $15,000. There will be a grace period of 3 years to allow for related businesses to prepare for closure. And there will be further support for those currently in the industry so they can find stable economic activities. Ishikawa, Arirang News.
And the main political parties have agreed to hold an extraordinary National Assembly session from next Monday to February 8th. This follows the conclusion of the current extraordinary parliamentary session. The ruling People Power Party and the main opposition Democratic Party also agreed to convene two plenary sessions on the January 25th and February 1st. Eyes are on whether contentious proposals on the special probe into First Lady Kim Gon-hee and the so-called Daejangdong 5 billion won club will be brought to a revote after President Yoon vetoed them last week. Preliminary earnings calculations by Samsung Electronics point to the company's lowest annual operating profit in well over a decade last year. This was because semiconductor performance remained weak, but the outlook for 2024 looks different. Park Gon-woo has more.
South Korean tech giant Samsung Electronics saw its lowest annual operating profits in 15 years in 2023. According to preliminary data revealed by the company on Tuesday, operating profits came to 6.54 trillion won, or around $5 billion, a drop of 84.92% from the year before. It's the lowest that yearly operating profits have fallen since 2008. An expert explained about the reasons behind the fall in profit.
The drop was due to shrinking chip demand for IT products that led to excessive supply and price drops as the global economy worsened last year.
Samsung's Device Solutions division that manages its chip business saw a cumulative deficit of approximately $9.1 billion from the first to third quarter last year. Operating profits started to improve in the fourth quarter due to a reduction in production and chip inventories. Meanwhile, despite on-quarter operating profits for previous quarters last year, the fourth quarter saw a drop compared to the previous year. In the fourth quarter alone, operating profits fell around 35% compared to the year before, to around $2.1 billion, falling short of the London Stock Exchange Group's smart estimate of around $2.8 billion. But the expert forecast a brighter future for the chipmaker in 2024.
Expect an earnings rebound from the second and third quarter due to a surge in chip prices seen since the fourth quarter of last year, as well as higher foundry orders.
He said he expects the company to see improvements by the second and third quarters. Park Gon-woo, Arirang News.
We are counting down to the hours the world's largest trade show in Las Vegas. The Consumer Electronics Show marks its 58th edition this year, and according to organizers, artificial intelligence is headlining this year's event. Our business correspondent Shin Ha-young has a preview.
The world's largest tech show, the Consumer Electronics Show, where visitors can be among the first to experience global tech trends, is about to kick off in Las Vegas on Tuesday local time. Under the theme of All Together, All On, this year's trade show focuses on using innovative technology to tackle global issues. The combined exhibition area covers a vast space of over 240,000 square meters, a 30% increase from last year. Some 3,500 companies from 150 countries are taking part. From South Korea, around 760 companies, including startups and major players like LG Electronics, Samsung Electronics, Hyundai Motor Group, and SK, will showcase their latest cutting-edge technologies. This makes Korea the third largest country in terms of participation after the US and China. At CES 2024, AI developments in a variety of fields including home appliances, healthcare, and automotive are expected to take center stage. Ahead of the opening, South Korea's tech giants unveiled a range of next-generation TVs. LG Electronics presented the world's first wireless transparent OLED TV, the LG Signature OLED T. When turned up, it's practically invisible, blending into the surroundings and making the space feel bigger. and you can see beyond the screen and move it freely thanks to its transparent screen and wireless technology. It is complemented by top-notch picture quality and LG OLED powered by the new Alpha 11 AI processor. Samsung Electronics revealed its latest QLED and micro LED TVs. The announcement also conveyed plans to open what the firm calls the era of AI screen with the introduction of a next-generation AI processor set to redefine the perception of smart display capabilities.
Samsung's AI screen is powered by on-device AI technology. We will be the centerpiece of your AI home, connecting all your devices to offer more flexible and diverse lifestyle with no boundaries on or off screen.
With curiosity about how AI will break down barriers in various industries, the 4-day event is expected to attract over 130,000 people from around the world. 신하영, Arirang News.
Korea's current account posted a surplus for the 7th month in a row in November amid expanded exports of chips and cars. An Sung-jin has more.
South Korea's current account balance for November last year saw surplus yet again on the back of improving exports. According to preliminary data released by the Bank of Korea on Tuesday, the current account balance saw monthly surplus for the 7th consecutive month, with the surplus for November standing at $4.06 billion. The goods account saw a surplus of $7 billion in November, nearly $2 billion higher than the months before, as exports saw strong performance and imports fell. Exports saw an on-year increase of 7% on the back of an improvement in the semiconductor industry and a recovery in trade with China.
Automobile exports continued their strong performance, and semiconductor exports saw a hike, recording a 10.8% on-year increase, the first on-year increase since July 2022.
In terms of region, exports to U.S. rose by 24.7% compared to the year before, while exports to both Japan and Southeast Asia increased by 11%. Imports fell by 8% compared to the previous year on a drop in fossil fuel prices. Meanwhile, the services account, which tracks the inflow and outflow of business services, tourism, and transportation, recorded a $2.13 billion deficit. The widening deficit compared to October is largely attributed to fewer tourists from Southeast Asia and China, combined with more Koreans traveling and spending money abroad. The accumulated current account balance surplus from January to November last year is $27.4 billion, which is $300 million more than for the same period in 2022. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
The nation's pension payouts are going up. The Ministry of Health and Welfare says that pension payments are going up by 3.6% starting this month, in line with the rate of consumer inflation from the previous year. With the increase, old age pension recipients who receive an average of 620,000 won as of November will now receive around 640,000 won, or around $488. Starting in July, both the upper and lower thresholds for the standard monthly income used to calculate pension premiums will also go up. In the Middle East, an Israeli strike has reportedly killed one of Hezbollah's high-ranking officials. This amid fears of war escalation beyond Gaza. Lee Seung-jae has the latest.
Hezbollah says one of its top-ranking commanders has been killed in an Israeli attack in southern Lebanon. Lebanon state media said Wissam Tawil, who is considered one of the most prominent figures in the Lebanese militant group, was killed in an Israeli airstrike that targeted a car that the commander was in. According to AFP, Tawil had a leading role in managing Hezbollah's operations in the south of Lebanon. However, Israel did not comment on the attack, but it did say it had hit Hezbollah targets in response to cross-border attacks. Regarding the war in Gaza Strip, the office of the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu released a joint statement from both the Prime Minister and Defense Chief Yoav Gallant, where the two stressed that the war there would not end anytime soon and that it would continue for many months. They also called for international support in order for them to continue the fighting in Gaza. Speaking to the New York Times, Israel Defense Forces spokesperson Daniel Hagari said its military has begun a new, less intensive phase in its war against Hamas in Gaza. He added that the new phase means fewer ground troops and airstrikes. The comments came hours before U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken arrived in Israel. to discuss the transition to the next phase in fighting and preventing the conflict from spreading. Meanwhile, Blinken sent a message warning to the Houthi militants in Yemen, saying they will face consequences for continued attacks on ships in the Red Sea. Blinken told reporters Monday in Saudi Arabia that some 40 countries have called on Houthis to stop their attacks. The top American diplomat also made stops in Turkey, Greece, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates in quick succession before his visit to Israel. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Over in Japan, the number of people killed in the New Year's Day earthquake has risen to 180 as of Tuesday afternoon. Officials in Ishikawa Prefecture say more than 120 people are still unaccounted for, while more than 3,000 in the Noto region remain isolated. Search and recovery crews are sifting through the city of Wajima near the quake's epicenter. Japan's meteorological agency is warning of possible quakes over the coming month with upper 5 or more intensity on Japan's 0 to 7 seismic scale.
The whole country is turning white with heavy snow today. A heavy snow warning was issued in Seoul as up to 10 centimeters are expected until late at night. Let's take a look at how the radar looks at the moment. With snow clouds affecting Seoul and Gangwon province, snow warnings are expanding around the central and northern regions. Since the afternoon, snow has become thicker and more regions are expected to have snow. Until tomorrow, up to 20 centimeters of snow is in the forecast for the mountainous areas of Gangwon province. Inland areas of Gyeonggi-do province, Chungcheongbuk-do province, and the Gyeongsang-do province will see up to 15 centimeters of heavy snow. Extra caution is necessary on icy roads. Tomorrow, Seoul, Chuncheon, and Daejeon will start off at -2 degrees. Highs in Seoul, Chuncheon, Gwangju, and Gyeongju, 6 degrees Celsius. Snow and rain will move away later tonight in Seoul and other areas from tomorrow morning. There is no severe cold spell for the time being. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world. That is Newscenter for tonight. Thank you for watching. A panel session is coming up.